Hey everyone, and welcome to the end of week 4, beginning of week 5. We're absolutely crazy. We're almost halfway through this term. So hopefully your term's going well, and some of you who moved into new positions recently are settling in. It seems like almost half of you, I think, are in new positions currently with your educational context. So hopefully you're getting settled in a bit, and I know how hard that is while trying to also complete classes. So let me know for sure if you need anything, assistance in supporting you in that endeavor. So just to kind of recap on last week's work, I asked you to give me a brief outline of your leadership presentation, and you all had great ideas about how you wanted to go and what direction. The one thing that I would suggest, as you gave some information about your context and leadership, primarily people were focusing on themselves as leaders rather than my hope was, so apparently my instructions weren't as clear as they should have been, was that you would be looking at leadership opportunities throughout your educational context. So for instance, if you're a classroom teacher, you might consider what would be possibilities in your classroom to be a STEM leader, and many of you addressed that. Some of you talked about what you would do in your school and how you might influence or participate in leadership across your school setting. And some of you talked about even maybe at the district level, so that was great. I would actually encourage you to think even more broadly as well. So if you're a classroom teacher, maybe thinking about how you can get involved at a district, regional, or even state level. So there's many collaborative efforts going on across, regions or districts or states to implement STEM or to enhance STEM education. So one of those possibilities is through the STEM hubs, through your ESD, through the district office. At the state level, there's the Oregon Science Teachers Association, which is involved in trying to promote STEM education and NGSS alignment. So thinking about what are some of the other roles that in the future you might consider, but just also people that you could work with. The big takeaway with STEM that I've gotten from doing a lot of studying and working on that is that STEM is almost impossible to implement without collaboration with many people across lots of levels in your school, district, regional, and state. So it takes just a great deal of resources, and in order to do that, you have to be able to connect with those other leaders. And so I would like to just emphasize that as you consider and start planning your leadership presentation that's due week 6, that you consider expanding your definition of those leadership roles throughout your context. So if you're not a classroom teacher, I think all of you are working in classrooms. But if you're working, for instance, as a coach, again, you're still going to have similar connections. Although one of you is working in a classroom, you also have spent quite a bit of time working in another context, implementing STEM with elderly adults. And so thinking about what are some of the nonprofits that might be interested in participating. And this goes to the classroom teachers as well. Lots of agencies, lots of museums and science-oriented providers like OMSI or even the zoos, national parks, county parks, Fish and Wildlife. All of those people are also really good people to think about in terms of STEM leadership. So branch out a little and add to that part of your repertoire. And I gave you some time last week to do that with kind of diving into the STEM hubs. Okay, if you have any questions about that, shoot me an email. For this week, you're actually going to be working on, there's 2 assignments. So you have a discussion this week, and then you also have the, another research review. So definitely you'll need to do the readings for this week, which are on section 4 in your text, and then you get to pick one of your own. Those are the minimum. You can add additional readings if you'd like, and you can pick a topic that isn't included in the text. So you're going to do your research review. You can pick an article that you really liked that addresses a critical issue in STEM that's outside of the ones that were highlighted in the text. So I just want you to know that that's a possibility. So the discussion is just basically you're going to respond to what is the one critical issue that resonates with you and applies to your educational context. So many of the issues around STEM implementation involve somehow expanding the interest and motivation and participation of underrepresented populations. So there's a lot of articles about that. But I've also included some additional readings if you want to take a look at those under resources. So there's also issues about gender participation, but also just some of you mentioned, how do you get schools to integrate? There's topics, I think Eliana, who's in kindergarten and is moving towards a STEAM school, how do you bring in all the content areas and actually teach them as an interconnected project-based model? So changing from a very siloed, we teach reading and then we teach math, then we teach science, to a project-based integrated is one of the big challenges in STEM. And even more so as you get up into the upper grades. So thinking about that's a critical issue. So there's some other ideas, but if you have one that you feel really strongly about, email me and just get it okayed before you proceed with that being the one you focus on. So just know that you should address a critical issue in both your leadership presentation, and you're going to want to actually have that be foundational in your final project, which is creating some kind of plan to tackle a STEM professional development in some way with your educational context. So you'll want to incorporate that critical issue in this in both the midterm and the final projects. So pick wisely, pick something you're interested in, something that is relevant to your context, and something that you can develop some expertise in over the next week. So that is it for next week. I'll put up a to-do list. And again, if you have any questions about how to integrate those into your leadership presentation or begin to think about that final project, shoot me an email, sign up for office hours. We can always connect via phone or Zoom, and I hope and I would encourage you to really try to find something that is important to you in actually incorporating STEM, so that since you're going to have to spend a little time on this, it's something that is relevant. All right, hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you next week.